So MAGA owns the media now. Oh, anyone cheering? Nobody? I didn't think so. Hey guys, what's up? It's Imurgency. Welcome back to my channel. And let's talk about this, because if you weren't aware, there was just a monumental media merger. That's a lot of M's. That just went through between Paramount, Skydance, essentially Paramount Pictures and all that comes with that, and Warner Brothers Discovery. And if this sounds like old news to you, that's because it initially was, or at least we all thought it was. Like, this is nothing new. There has been talks of a Warner Brothers merger happening for honestly like months now. And a lot of people when this news broke were like, oh my God, this is really bad because this is the potential death merger of media, of having everything under one conglomerate. Except that conversation was had primarily around Netflix, because for a while it was poised that Netflix was going to buy Warner Brothers Discovery and everything would be under the Netflix umbrella. However, as of yesterday, as of recording this video, Paramount made a counter offer towards that deal that was at a higher amount than what Netflix was going to pay. And Netflix yesterday decided that, yeah, I don't need that. I don't know who need that, but we at Netflix do not need that, so we're backing out of this deal. Which means that Paramount is now acquiring Warner Brothers Discovery, which again is flooding the news with the end times of media rhetoric.
Paramount just outbid Netflix to take over Warner Brothers, and if you live in the US, this is actually pretty bad news. You see, over the last year, President Trump has been quietly planting allies at almost every major news outlet. And if one person controls the media, they control the narrative, everything that you see, but importantly, everything that you don't see.
And I'm pretty much here to tell you that, yeah, some of that is very valid. Like, this was a $110 billion deal that essentially just sold our news, our media, and our entertainment to the Trump administration. Like, this might be hyperbole, but this feels very similar to like the entertainment equivalent to the Supreme Court being packed with conservatives, because this is going to last us quite a long time. And the repercussions of this have yet to be fully seen, but definitely will be realized in due time. And I think by the time that they are fully realized, it might be too late. And let me explain why. In order to break down exactly why everyone is freaking out about this, we have to understand what these parent companies really entail and why this feels so sketchy entertainment-wise. Like, yeah, this sounds like a big deal. Yes, this was a large amount of money that was used for this deal, but what has actually come with it? And in order to break that down, we have to initially talk about what comes with each company. So let's look at Paramount. So when you think of Paramount, you may think of things like Paramount Plus, which does not sound really crazy because Paramount Plus historically hasn't been the most relevant streaming service. Although, and I say that as someone who's had a Paramount Plus gift card for, I want to say like 4 or 5 years at this point and has not redeemed it because I ain't have watching on there. So maybe this is an example of patience being a virtue. But Paramount, as it stands prior to this deal going through, owns the CBS network, which includes things like CBS News and all that comes with that, BET, Comedy Central, Country Music Television, Nickelodeon, the Paramount Network, Pop, Smithsonian, TV Land, VH1, and Showtime, as well as Pluto TV. And that's already a huge swath of entertainment and news when we talk about that. But with this Warner Brothers acquisition, they're also gaining HBO and HBO Max, CNN, TNT, the Discovery Channel, TLC, HGTV, the Food Network, Cartoon Network, and much, much more. And that combined under one company is insane and is an exorbitant amount of IP under one name. And I'm going to get serious in a second, but I swear if I see Superman being some kind of drug dealer for Rue smoking a joint with SpongeBob SquarePants in this new season of Euphoria, I am going to crash out, because what do you mean they are now all under the same company? Like, this is insane.
We can't win. We can't win, bro. Why?
But getting back on track, be serious for me. This essentially means that in the streaming sector, the three main superpowers right now are Netflix, now Paramount, and Disney. And that's already not great when we're talking about like the whole let's not monopolize all of entertainment. But the implications of this politically is really where things start to look scary.
Now just came out literally 10 minutes ago that Netflix is declining to raise the offer, and it's looking like Paramount is going to buy Warner Brothers. We were just getting used to the idea of Netflix and Warner Brothers being one unit. And that took a lot. And you mean to tell me that the fucking Ellisons are going to have a major stake in Hollywood and going to be pumping out Trump, Zionist, and conservative propaganda? This is some bull. Mind it is after multiple CEOs went to Congress, went to go visit Trump. The DOJ was stepping in. Meanwhile, us, the consumers, have to suffer.
So like I said, with this acquisition, one parent company now owns news sources like CBS, CNN, and TNT, if you can call it that. I just say that because TNT typically owns things like sports and sports news, as well as also owning MTV. And this becomes especially concerning when you look at who the head of Paramount is right now and who his ties and allegiances are currently to. Enter David Ellison. And if that last name sounds familiar, that's because David Ellison is the son of Larry Ellison, the very popular billionaire, who has not only been a longtime Republican supporter and donor, as well as someone who has very closely aligned themselves with Trump, but he also is the owner of Oracle. And if Oracle sounds familiar to you, it's because Oracle is pretty much everywhere. But Oracle is most recently in the news because they are now the largest stakeholder of TikTok. Yes. So one family with very close allegiances to Trump, to the point where they get personally invited to the State of the Union address, not only own the largest social media platform in the country, but also own damn near half of the news media companies, as well as regular media and entertainment companies. And if that doesn't sound concerning to you, or if you're like, just because they're really closely aligned to Trump doesn't mean they're going to do things in favor of Trump and let their political affiliations bleed into their work, then I have some news for you. And that news for you, ironically, comes with the historical precedent of CBS, and specifically the recent fall of CBS. Because if you weren't familiar, CBS was a news platform that used to pride itself on its neutrality, often trying to report on stories geared towards the mainstream massive audience. So they weren't perfect by any means, but they generally tried to stick somewhere in the middle in terms of reporting and the ways that they wrote about stories. However, many have noticed that recently CBS has taken a turn as David Ellison has become more and more cozy with the Trump administration, has moved CBS from being more center-left to now leaning more right, with CBS News' new editor-in-chief, Barry Weiss, taking prominent stances to make CBS more anti-woke, and also getting in the news for the untimely cancellation of the late night show with Stephen Colbert, essentially making moves and going after people that have criticisms over the Trump administration and what's been going on in the world. And we've also been seeing CBS make interesting changes to the languages and headlines that they put online, either covering more of what the Trump administration is doing and framing it in a positive or neutral way as opposed to a neutral negative way, no matter what is coming out, as well as underreporting on things that are just flat out bad, i.e. Epstein stuff, economy stuff, ICE stuff.
This is a chart showing the decline in Tony DeCoppel's first week on air. The y-axis here, admittedly not very generous to Tony DeCoppel and CBS, but here it is. On Monday of last week, his first week, the viewership was around 4.4 million, pretty good. But by Thursday, literally 3 days later, it shot down to 3.9 million. Fully 500,000 people said, nah, we're good. And now, after 2 weeks, we know viewership down 23% compared with the same period a year ago.
And this is setting a spooky precedent now that we have more news networks under that same parent company of Paramount. And only time will tell if these news networks like CNN, MTV, and TNT go down a similar route, which does bring up more questions around what it means to be a free press. Like, is the press really free? If billionaires can essentially just buy them out and make them say and report on whatever they want, or not report on whatever they want. And this is all coming at a time where we are deep in the mis and disinformation wars, where it is harder than ever to know if something is true or not, AI manipulated or not, or are in some way, shape, or form just plain flat out propaganda. And just to zoom out again, I do have to reiterate, like, things are wild when you have these billionaires controlling pretty much all of entertainment and news. Because again, the Ellison family now has control over large swaths of news networks, large swaths of entertainment, and again, the largest and most popular social media app in the US, with that being TikTok. And we are already seeing the rise of censorship and takedowns of content that are political, anti-Trump, anti-ICE, pro-Palestine, anti-Israel, or generally any other controversial topic on that platform. So let's just hope that doesn't spread to the others as well. Like, we're really living in a time where billionaires own our media. Like, besides the Ellisons, you already have tech billionaires that have continuously cozied up to this current administration, like Bezos, who owns the Amazon properties as well as the Washington Post. That has become a publication that has been known to underreport, misreport, or just not report on things that are not in line with this administration's goals. Then you have other tech billionaires like Zuckerberg and Musk, who own the other social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, who have all tailored their apps to become these pro-Trump, rage-baity misinformation slop sites where you really can't tell what's real and what's fake. And that is so sad to me, because I will always talk about how the fall of Twitter is so personal to me. Like, I remember a time where you can go on Twitter and reliably internet literacy and all. But, like reliably trust that like breaking news is going to break and be by and large pretty accurate on that app when it happens. And now you just can't use the app that way anymore. Because for one, if you're lucky enough to get news that is actually relevant to your area or relevant to stuff that is actually happening, all of the posts under it are either going to be engagement farmers, OnlyFans bots, or a vague poster trying to capitalize on the moment, or just random red pill conservatives with 3 American flags in their bio saying like slurs. And before I go any further, I do have to have a quick reality check with you. If you zoom out right now and think about all of the things that we've just talked about, and imagine you're hearing about this all happening to another country, it would sound like that country is not doing well and is in the throes of authoritarian propaganda. So let's not pretend that it's just different because it's happening here in America. Like, should all this happen anywhere else, we would think that it is a problem, and it is one. And this is all just so disappointing because this mass acquiescence that we're seeing of our media to the Trump administration and to the MAGA movement is scary, because we've now reached a point where the administration essentially controls, or at very least has very heavy influence in a large share of our news and media. And besides the propaganda of it all, I don't need to explain to you why this might not be a good thing, just solely based on how things have been playing out over the past year. And I don't mean to fearmonger when I say this, but our press, our media, and our entertainment have become compromised. And it feels like we kind of just gotta, deal with it. And this is really my main thing here, and where I'd like to hear from you in the comments as to what your thoughts, solutions, and how you're going to move in the future are going to be. Because like, what do we realistically do from here? Where do we go from here? Because in my mind, boycotts are the first thing that come to mind. But what happens when we get to the point where we have to boycott pretty much all of the companies that are involved in our forms of entertainment, in our forms of news, and our forms of community building and engagement with the global world? Because in my mind, that becomes isolating in a different way. And I really don't have an answer to this. And again, I'd love to hear from you, because I don't have answers to this. I really just am making this video to, for one, keep you informed, and to two, open a conversation about this, because I think we do need to come together to figure out how we're going to move, what's going to happen, because this cannot continue. And this does feel illegal. I don't know the legality behind this. I know there are some lawsuits around like antitrust stuff, but it doesn't really seem like those are going to have substantial gains in terms of changing things. What are we to do? And again, I really feel bad making these sorts of videos, because I don't mean to be alarmist and I don't mean to be doomorous and super negative, especially because I feel like you come to these videos on YouTube or Spotify or wherever you're watching this to kind of get an escape, or at least to think about something else while you're eating a meal. But I really just want to make sure you're informed, in the loop, and thinking about these things critically, because we need to be doing that more, especially in the times we're currently in. So for at least while the lights are on here on YouTube, we're going to keep talking about it. But yeah, things aren't looking good right now.